Right now, you are traveling at 67,000 miles per hour around a burning star. You feel stationary. You feel secure. You have been told, since you were a child, that the solar system is a clockwork mechanism, a predictable, stable dance of gravity, where every planet, every moon, and every asteroid stays in its lane. We like to believe that the cosmic neighborhood is a quiet, suburban cul-de-sac in the Milky Way. We tell ourselves that the monsters are far away, trapped in the chaotic centers of distant galaxies, anchored by the billions of stars that feed them. We believe we are too small to be noticed. We believe we are too isolated to be threatened. But that is a lie. The universe is not a garden. It is a shooting gallery. And for the last 6 months, a terrified team of astrophysicists at the Space Telescope Science Institute in Baltimore has been staring at a set of data that suggests the bullet is already in the air. This is not a simulation. This is not a hypothetical scenario regarding the heat death of the universe billions of years from now. This concerns an anomaly detected by the James Webb Space Telescope, a gravitational signature that violates our standard model of stellar mechanics. It is massive. It is invisible. It is completely silent. And, unlike every other black hole we have ever catalogued, it is not sitting still. It is hunting. To understand the severity of what is happening right now in the deep vacuum beyond the orbit of Neptune, you first have to understand the arrogance of human astronomy. For centuries, we have relied on light. We build telescopes to catch photons. We look for stars, for glowing gas, for the reflection of sunlight off planetary surfaces. If it shines, we map it. If it is dark, we assume it is empty space. We have constructed a map of the universe that consists only of the things we can see. Imagine trying to navigate a dark room by only mapping the LED lights on the electronics, while ignoring the furniture, the walls, and the open trapdoors. That is how we have explored the cosmos. We assumed that the dark was just empty distance. But the James Webb Space Telescope, or JWST, was designed to see the universe in a way our eyes cannot. It sees in infrared. It peers through the dust. It looks back in time. It is the most sophisticated eye humanity has ever opened. And when we pointed it toward a seemingly empty patch of sky in the Ophiuchus constellation, we expected to see the faint, red-shifted ghosts of the earliest galaxies. Instead, Webb saw nothing. Not the nothingness of empty space, but a distorted nothingness. Picture a pristine sheet of graph paper. The grid lines represent the fabric of space-time, smooth, flat, predictable. Now, imagine placing a heavy, invisible glass sphere on top of that paper. The grid lines would warp. They would curve around the invisible object. If you looked through that sphere at the text beneath it, the words would be twisted, magnified, and smeared. This is called gravitational lensing. It is how Einstein taught us to find the monsters in the dark. Mass bends light. If something massive is sitting between us and a distant star, the light from that star will bend around the object, creating a ring or a smear. 6 months ago, a postdoctoral researcher analyzing Webb's deep field calibration data noticed a smudge. It was a tiny, insignificant distortion in the background star field. A single galaxy, billions of light years away, appeared to be smeared into a partial arc. At first, it was dismissed as an artifact, a glitch in the processing software, or a microscopic misalignment of Webb's 18 gold-plated mirrors. They recalibrated. They ran the diagnostics. The telescope was perfect. The distortion was real. This was the first tremor of panic. You see, for an object to warp light that significantly, it has to be massive. We are talking about the mass of a star compressed into a singularity, a black hole. But black holes, as we understand them, are usually found in two places: at the hearts of galaxies, surrounded by a swirling glowing disk of superheated matter called an accretion disk, or in binary systems, cannibalizing a companion star. In both cases, they are loud. They emit X-rays. They spew radio waves. They are messy eaters. This object was different. It had no accretion disk. It had no companion star. It was completely naked. A rogue stellar mass black hole drifting through the interstellar void like a shark in deep water. That, in itself, is terrifying, but it is not unprecedented. We know rogue black holes exist. We suspect there are millions of them in the Milky Way, the corpses of dead stars kicked out of their birth clusters, wandering the dark forever. If this object were merely drifting, it would be a scientific curiosity. We would catalogue it, calculate its safe distance, and marvel at the darkness. But then, they checked the blue shift. In astronomy, almost everything is redshifted. The universe is expanding, stretching space itself, so almost all distant objects are moving away from us, stretching their light waves toward the red end of the spectrum. Red means goodbye. Red means safe. But if an object is moving toward you, the light waves get compressed. They squish together like an accordion, shifting toward the blue end of the spectrum. Blue means incoming. When the team analyzed the light from the background stars being warped by this invisible lens, they noticed a peculiar shifting in the distortion pattern over a period of just 3 weeks. The lens wasn't stationary. It was moving across the sky. This is known as proper motion. But to move visibly across the sky in just 3 weeks, an object has to be one of two things: either incredibly fast or terrifyingly close. They ran the numbers. They assumed the object was far away, perhaps in the spiral arm towards the galactic center. But the math didn't work. The gravitational influence was too strong for the estimated mass. The only way the equation balanced is if the object was much, much nearer. The initial calculation placed the object not in the deep galactic core, but in the local interstellar neighborhood, within a few hundred light years. In cosmic terms, that is standing in the same room. The room went silent. The senior astrophysicists took over the terminals. They pointed Webb back at the coordinates, demanding a higher resolution spectrographic analysis. They needed to confirm the velocity. They needed to know the vector. 3 days later, the second set of data arrived. It confirmed the worst-case scenario. The object is not drifting aimlessly. It is moving with specific, high-velocity intent. It is cutting through the interstellar medium at a speed of nearly 3 million miles per hour. And when they traced the trajectory back, they realized where it came from. It wasn't ejected from a standard supernova. The velocity was too high. It looked less like it had been kicked and more like it had been fired. And where is it headed? Picture a sniper adjusting their scope. They dial in the windage. They adjust for elevation. They line up the crosshairs. The trajectory of this rogue black hole, this invisible devourer of worlds, aligns within less than 1 degree of our solar system. But that is not the anomaly. The anomaly is what the team discovered 48 hours ago. It is the reason the data hasn't been released to the public. It is the reason for the closed-door meetings at the highest levels of the European Space Agency and NASA. Because they kept watching. They tracked the object's position against the background stars for another month, expecting the velocity to remain constant. Newton's first law: an object in motion stays in motion, unless acted upon by an outside force. In the vacuum of space, there is no friction. There is no air resistance. A black hole should coast at a steady speed. But the rogue black hole is not coasting. It is accelerating. Let that sink in. A black hole is a region of space-time where gravity is so strong that nothing, no particles or even electromagnetic radiation such as light, can escape from it. It is a mass. It is dead weight. It does not have an engine. It does not have thrusters. It does not have a propellant system. It is a hole in reality. It should not be able to change its own speed. And yet, the redshift measurements of the background stars it occulted proved it undeniable. Between the first observation and the second, the object gained velocity. Between the second and the third, it gained even more. It is picking up speed as it approaches us. This breaks the standard model. It violates our understanding of inertia. It suggests that either our understanding of gravity is fundamentally flawed, or that this object is interacting with something we cannot see, something that is pulling it, or pushing it. The scientists began to look for a source of gravity that could be reeling this monster in. They looked for a massive dark star, a brown dwarf, anything in our own solar system's backyard that could be acting as a gravitational lure. They found nothing. The path ahead of the black hole is clear. Then, they looked behind it. This is where the horror truly begins. To explain the acceleration, one theorist proposed a gravitational assist, the slingshot maneuver we use for our own Voyager probes. But to get a slingshot, you need a massive body to swing around. This object is in the void. There is nothing to swing around, unless it is not swinging, unless it is feeding. There is a theoretical concept in astrophysics regarding dark matter accretion. We know dark matter makes up 85% of the matter in the universe, but we cannot interact with it. It passes right through us. But a black hole's gravity is indiscriminate. It eats everything. If a black hole moves through a dense patch of dark matter, it consumes it. Some models suggest that this consumption could, theoretically, alter the angular momentum of the singularity, converting mass into energy in ways we don't fully comprehend, a sort of dark propulsion. If this hypothesis is true, the black hole isn't just a bullet. It is a glutton. It is accelerating, because it is moving through a rich vein of invisible matter, gorging itself, and the intake is propelling it forward like a ramjet engine. And that vein of dark matter? It flows like a river right through the heart of our solar system. We are not just in its path. We are in its feeding trough. The implications of this acceleration are catastrophic for our timeline. At its initial estimated speed, we had centuries, perhaps a millennium, time enough to prepare, or at least time enough to live out our lives in blissful ignorance. But with the exponential increase in velocity observed over the last month, that timeline has collapsed. The safe distance is shrinking every hour. The distortion in the sky is growing. It is still invisible to the naked eye, but soon, amateur astronomers with backyard telescopes will notice that the stars in the constellation Ophiuchus are behaving strangely. They will see the winking out of starlight. They will see the warping of the grid. And they will see that the distortion is getting bigger. We are facing an object with the mass of 10 suns, compacted into a sphere the size of Manhattan, moving at relativistic speeds, aiming directly for the orbital plane of Earth. It does not need to hit us to kill us. It only needs to get close. If it passes within the orbit of Pluto, its gravity will disrupt the Kuiper belt, sending a rain of millions of comets hurtling toward the inner planets. If it passes within the orbit of Jupiter, it will unhinge the gas giant, stripping it of its moons and throwing the entire gravitational balance of the solar system into chaos. Earth could be flung out into the cold void or pulled directly into the sun. But the most terrifying aspect isn't the destruction. It is the intelligence of the movement. I use the word intelligence deliberately because the latest report from the JWST team details one final chilling observation. The acceleration isn't smooth, it is erratic. The object makes micro-adjustments. It speeds up, then holds, then surges again. It mimics the behavior of a biological predator adjusting its stride to close the distance on prey. We are staring into the dark, and for the first time in human history, the dark is not just staring back. It is sprinting toward us. To understand why this acceleration is the nightmare scenario, you have to stop thinking of space as empty. We are taught that space is a vacuum, a void, a whole lot of nothing. But that is the map, not the territory. To a physicist, space is not empty. It is a substance. It is a fabric. Think of the surface of a swimming pool. It looks smooth, glass-like. But if you are submerged in that water, you feel the pressure. You feel the currents. You feel the temperature. Space is exactly like that water. It has density, it has flow, it has texture. A star, like our sun, is a boat floating gently on this water. It creates a small wake, a tiny depression in the surface. The planets are like rubber ducks circling that boat, bobbing in the ripples. Everything is calm. Now, introduce the rogue. This black hole is not a boat. It is a nuclear submarine moving at supersonic speeds, fully submerged. It doesn't just sit on the water, it drags the water with it. As this object accelerates toward us, it is pushing a bow wave of compressed spacetime ahead of it. This is the gravitational snowplow effect. Normally, gravity is a pull, but when a massive object moves this fast, it compresses the fabric of reality in front of it. Imagine you are standing on a rug. Someone grips the other end of the rug and yanks it violently toward them. You fall. Not because they touched you, but because the ground you were standing on moved. That is what is happening to the light coming from Ophiuchus. The rug of space is bunching up. And this brings us to the first terrifying realization of what happens when, not if, it arrives. The danger is not that it will eat the Earth. That would be quick. That would be merciful. The danger is that it will simply walk through the room. Let's look at the mechanics of the solar system. It is a balanced equation. The Earth falls toward the Sun, but it moves sideways fast enough to miss it. That is all an orbit is, a perpetual freefall that never hits the ground. It requires perfect balance. If you throw a heavy magnet onto a table full of compasses, what happens? The needles don't just point at the magnet. They spin, they wobble, they lose their north. As the rogue approaches the outer edges of our system, effectively the Oort cloud, a shell of icy debris surrounding us like a protective eggshell, its gravity will override the sun's influence. These billions of icy rocks, some the size of mountains, have been drifting in slow, lazy circles for 4 billion years. Suddenly, the floor tilts. The rogue's gravity acts as a shepherd. It will grab these comets, millions of them, and fling them inward. We will see the first signs not as a black hole in the sky, but as a sudden, inexplicable increase in long-period comets. The night sky will fill with streaks of light. It will look beautiful. a cosmic fireworks display. But it will be the firing squad taking aim. We are talking about a bombardment not seen since the late heavy bombardment 4 billion years ago, the event that turned the surface of the moon into a cratered wasteland. Every city on Earth would be at risk of a kinetic impact event, capable of wiping out civilization. And the black hole wouldn't even be here yet. This is just its shadow falling across the doorway. But let's go deeper. Let's assume we survive the bombardment. Let's assume we build bunkers, we dig deep, we wait it out. Then, the rogue crosses the heliopause. This is the boundary where the sun's solar wind meets the interstellar medium. It is the bubble that protects us from galactic radiation. When a black hole punches through that bubble, it will be like piercing a submarine hull at crush depth. The protective pressure vanishes. The black hole is a source of intense magnetic chaos. It twists magnetic fields into pretzels. As it enters our system, it will likely strip away the sun's heliosphere, exposing Earth to the raw, unfiltered radiation of the cosmos. Cosmic rays, usually deflected by our sun's magnetic envelope, will rain down on us. Our atmosphere would begin to glow. Auroras would appear not just at the poles, but at the equator. The sky would be a permanent neon-violet sheet of ionization. Electronics would fry. The power grid would collapse instantly. We would be back in the Stone Age, watching the sky burn. And yet, the object itself remains invisible. This is the true horror of the anomaly. It is a monster you cannot see until it opens its mouth. A black hole is only visible if it is feeding. If it is stripping gas from a nearby star, that gas heats up and glows. But this rogue is traveling through the dark. It is quiescent. It is stealth. However, invisible does not mean silent. The Webb telescope data suggests something else, something that has the acoustical physicists at the SETI Institute sweating through their shirts. Black holes ring. When space is distorted that violently, it creates gravitational waves, ripples in the pond. Usually, these are too faint to detect unless two black holes collide. But this one is accelerating. That erratic motion, that hunting gait, it is sending out pulses. If you could hear gravity, it would sound like a low, rhythmic thrumming, like a heartbeat. Thump, 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 thump. The frequency is increasing, the pitch is rising. It is the sound of a tightening string. As it gets closer, that gravitational humming will begin to affect matter on a microscopic level. This is where the physics becomes visceral. Your body is held together by electromagnetic forces. Your atoms interact through chemistry. But gravity pulls on everything. Usually, the pull is uniform. Your head and your feet are pulled toward the center of the Earth with roughly the same force. But near a black hole, the gradient changes. The gravity at your feet becomes significantly stronger than the gravity at your head. This is the tidal force. Long before the Earth is swallowed, we would feel the tides. Not ocean tides, planetary tides. The Earth's crust is a thin shell of rock floating on magma. As the rogue passes by, it will stretch the Earth. The ground will rise and fall by hundreds of meters every few hours. Imagine the San Andreas Fault, but everywhere. Imagine every dormant volcano on Earth erupting simultaneously because the magma chamber beneath it is being squeezed like a tube of toothpaste. The continents would buckle. The oceans would be pulled out of their basins, sweeping across the land masses in tsunamis 5 miles high. We would not be fighting an alien invasion. We would be fighting the laws of physics themselves. And throughout all of this, the comets, the radiation, the earthquakes, the rogue would finally reveal itself, not as a light, but as a hole in the stars. Imagine looking up at the night sky. The Milky Way is a band of diamond dust, but there, in the center of the view, is a circle of absolute nothingness, a sphere of Vanta black, and around the edge of that sphere, a thin, perfect ring of light. This is the Einstein ring. It is the light of the stars behind the black hole, bent around it, forming a halo. It would look like a giant, unblinking eye. As it moves, you would see the stars near it accelerate. They would zip around the edge of the disk and vanish, swallowed by the event horizon. It would look like the sky is being flushed down a drain. The psychological impact of seeing this object would be shattering. It violates every survival instinct we have. We are evolved to fear predators with teeth, with eyes, with claws. We are not evolved to fear a geometry. We are not evolved to fear a math equation that equals 0. It is the embodiment of the indifferent universe. The rogue does not hate us. It does not want our water. It does not want our resources. It does not want to enslave us. It simply exists. It is heavy. And it is coming. We are like ants on a driveway, and a steamroller is approaching. The steamroller is not angry at the ants. It doesn't even know the ants are there. But the result is the same. But remember the acceleration, the hunting behavior. This is where the cosmic horror shifts from indifference to something far worse. Why is it accelerating? The leading theory among the dissenting scientists, the ones who were kicked out of the briefing room for being too radical, is that the black hole is not just falling, it is being steered. They point to the Hawking radiation. Stephen Hawking theorized that black holes slowly evaporate, leaking radiation over trillions of years. But the energy signature coming off this rogue is all wrong. It's not random thermal noise, it is structured. The pulses of gravitational waves are not just rhythmic, they are mathematical. Prime numbers, Fibonacci sequences. The terrifying hypothesis is that this object is not a natural celestial body. Or, rather, it was, but it has been repurposed. Think of how we use gravity tractors. We can theoretically move an asteroid by parking a heavy spaceship next to it and letting gravity do the work. What if a Type 3 civilization, a civilization that can harness the energy of an entire galaxy, needed a weapon? What if they needed to clear a path? What if they needed to sterilize a sector of space? You wouldn't build a Death Star. That is inefficient. You would grab a black hole, you would strap an engine to it, and you would bowl it down the alley. The acceleration we are seeing is the engine firing. We are not just in the path of a disaster. We are in the path of a projectile. And this realization changes the entire context of our existence. We have spent 50 years listening for radio signals, for hello, for we come in peace. We looked for signals in the radio spectrum because that is what we use. We assumed aliens would build ships of metal and glass. But if you have mastered the physics of the universe, you don't build ships, you build gravity. You manipulate space-time. The rogue is not a visitor, it is a street sweeper. And we are the dust. The silence of the universe, the Fermi paradox, the question of where is everybody, suddenly has a gruesome answer. The universe is quiet because the loud ones get silenced. The civilizations that broadcast their location, like we have been doing with our radio and TV signals for 100 years, attract attention. We turned on the lights in a dark forest, and something saw us. Now the trees are breaking, The ground is shaking, and the thing that is coming is too big to fight, too fast to outrun, and too alien to reason with. As the rogue closes the distance to the orbit of Jupiter, the team at Webb sees one last detail, a change in the event horizon. The sphere is expanding. It's not just eating matter, it's growing. When the sky finally goes black, it will not be instant. It will be a slow, suffocating dimmer switch turning down the sun. We have discussed the panic. We have discussed the physics of the arrival. But we have not discussed what comes after. Because there is an after. The universe does not end just because we do. The clock keeps ticking, even if no one is left to hear it. Let's project the timeline forward, not by days, but by eons. As the rogue passes through the core of our solar system, the gravitational disruption is absolute. It does not need to swallow the Earth to destroy it. It simply needs to snap the leash. When the black hole outweighs the sun, the Earth's orbit is no longer valid. We are untethered. As the rogue screams past us, exiting the system as quickly as it arrived, it drags the chaotic wake of space-time behind it. In this gravitational turbulence, Earth is flung out of its habitable zone. We are ejected. We become a rogue planet. Picture the Earth drifting away from the warmth of the sun. The days get longer. The sun gets smaller, shrinking from a burning coin to a bright star, and finally to just another point of light in the cold distance. Temperatures plummet. The oceans do not just freeze. They turn into rock-hard sheets of ice miles thick. The atmosphere condenses. It rains liquid nitrogen, then oxygen snow. The sky turns a crystal clear, eternal black. The winds stop. The tectonic shifting slows. The Earth becomes a silent, frozen tomb, drifting through the interstellar void. And on the surface of this frozen marble, our cities remain, preserved in the vacuum. Skyscrapers encased in ice, satellites orbiting a dead world. We become a time capsule, a monument to a species that almost made it. But the rogue continues. It travels on, accelerating toward the next star system, then the next. And this brings us back to the chilling intelligence of its movement. The scientists analyzing the trajectory found a pattern. It isn't just hitting random stars. It is targeting specific spectral types. It is targeting G-type stars, yellow dwarfs, stable stars, stars like ours. Why? This forces us to confront the twist, the true nature of the anomaly. We assumed it was a weapon. We assumed it was an attack. But looking at the galactic map, at the line of destruction it has already carved, and the path it is charting for the future, a different picture emerges. It is not destroying systems at random. It is connecting them. It is a needle, pulling a thread. There is a concept in theoretical physics called the Kardashev scale. A Type 1 civilization controls its planet. A Type 2 controls its star. A Type 3 controls its galaxy. If you were a Type 3 civilization and you wanted to build a transit network across the Milky Way, you wouldn't use rockets. Rockets are too slow. You would use gravity. You would use wormholes. But to keep a wormhole open, you need immense negative mass and gravitational anchors. You need pylons. The rogue is not a predator. It is a pylon. It is being moved into position. It is accelerating because it is behind schedule. The reason it passed through our solar system, the reason it ejected us, was not out of malice. It was because we were in the way of the construction site. We are like a colony of ants living on a patch of dirt where a highway engineer has just planted a survey stake. They don't hate the ants. They don't want to kill the ants. But the highway is coming through and the dirt has to move. The horror is not that they are coming to get us. The horror is that they are so far above us, they didn't even check to see if anyone was home. This realization that we are collateral damage in a galactic engineering project strips us of our main character energy. We like to think the universe revolves around us, or at least that the universe is watching us. But the rogue proves we are negligible. We are dust on the lens. And what of the rogue itself? Billions of years from now, long after Earth is a frozen rock and the sun has burned out into a white dwarf, the rogue will still be there. It will be sitting in the dark, anchoring a gateway for beings we cannot comprehend, who travel between stars the way we travel between subway stations. They might look out of their windows as they pass through our sector, as they might see the frozen corpse of Earth drifting by. They might see the ruins of our civilization perfectly preserved in the ice. And they won't even know what we were. To them, we are just background noise. We are the static between the stations. But there is one final possibility. A possibility that is perhaps more terrifying than extinction. Let's go back to the event horizon. Current quantum theory suggests the holographic principle. It states that when an object falls into a black hole, the information that makes up that object isn't destroyed. Instead, it is smeared across the surface of the event horizon, a 2D blueprint of everything the black hole has ever consumed. If the rogue eventually consumes the Earth, if the ejection fails and we are pulled into the maw, we do not disappear. We become part of the archive. Every human, every book, every song, every hard drive, every memory, stripped of its physical form and encoded onto the surface of the singularity. We become data. Perhaps that is the purpose. Maybe the rogue isn't a destroyer, and it isn't a road builder. Maybe it is a harvester. The universe is dying. Entropy is increasing. Eventually, all stars will burn out. The universe will go dark. The only things that will survive the heat death are black holes. If you wanted to save the library of life before the library burns down, what would you do? You would digitize it. You would upload it to a server that can survive the fire. The rogue is accelerating toward us to save us, to harvest our complexity before the universe winds down. But to be saved, we must be destroyed. To be uploaded, the physical copy must be shredded. It is the ultimate cosmic irony. The monster coming to eat us is the only thing that will remember us. So, tonight, when you look up at the constellation Ophiuchus, don't look for the stars. Look for the space between them. Look for the shadow that is slightly too dark. It is closer than it was yesterday. It is faster than it was yesterday. We are small. We are fragile. And we are in the way. The universe is a vast, cold, and beautifully indifferent machine. It has been running for 13 billion years without us, and it will run for trillions more after we are gone. We are a brief flicker of consciousness in an infinite dark. But while we are here, while we can still feel the sun on our skin and see the stars in the sky, we have the privilege of witnessing the machine at work, even if that machine is coming to crush us. The silence you hear is not peace. It is the intake of breath before the scream. And the breath is almost over.